Same question, Superintendent?
Oh, thank you. I mean, first of all, thank you to the town for all the support you've given the schools over the last many years. Without it, we couldn't make the progress that I think we have been making. And that's one of the sad things about the budget situation we're in right now. We, over the last few years, have been able to maintain and improve our programs, and with the budget situation this year, we will have to cut back. Now, next September, no matter what happens, the school buses will roll and the schools will open. And so some people will think everything's the same as it's been, and it won't be. If the override does not pass, we will have reductions at every level. And not to go through a litany of things, but I do want to mention that it does affect everything at everybody at every level. At the elementary school, we would have grades 4 and 5 have 27 to 28 students in a class. That's provided no one moves into town this summer in those grades. We would eliminate the chorus program. The adjustment counselor would be reduced.
The what program?
The chorus program at the elementary. Okay. Fewer teacher assistants would be in the schools. At the middle school, our world language requirement would change. The students would not have world language as often as they currently do. The clubs and activities that our students participate in after school, we would still have some, but it would be reduced at the middle school by over $13,000. We would have fewer music classes, fewer art classes. There'd be fewer industrial arts and computer classes as well. And we'd have fewer special needs teachers at the middle school. At the high school, there'd be fewer business ed and tech classes. Clubs and activities at the high school, again, they would exist but would be reduced by $19,000, which is a significant amount. There would be fewer math classes, 2 fewer science classes, 2 fewer social studies classes. Physical education, we would be reducing a teacher by 40%, which is 2 periods a day. So there's many, many more. Athletics, we will have to increase the athletic fee to by about $45 per student, and there would be no freshman teams. System-wide, we would only buy textbooks if we needed to replace it. We couldn't go out and buy just new textbooks. We'd be buying textbooks that were lost and that we needed for the number of students in the class. No new computers, and we would not have a wellness coordinator, a world language coordinator, and one of our assessment specialists be gone. I have many more, but time is running out, so I'm going to leave it at that for right now.
Thank you, Rosemary. And Roxanne, the selectman's perspective on this now.
Well, small departments too. I think one thing we ought to remember too about 2.5 is that it is 27 years old, as Sandy said. A lot of rules and regulations have changed since then, and those cost money. In 1981, we didn't have a conservation agent. We didn't have a parking clerk. We didn't have a council on aging director that was paid. We didn't have a town administrator. There were a lot of positions that we have now that help us maintain our positions within these new rules and regulations and keeping the town basically out of trouble. We have things coming like ed reform that has happened. We have DEP changes. We have a lot of requirements that we have to keep up with. And 2.5 just doesn't make it. You think of your own budget at home, trying to live on a 2.5% increase when a lot of your fixed costs are going up higher than that and aren't controllable. So the effects on small departments are as severe as on the larger departments. The MIS department, which is also new since Prop 2.5, they have contracted maintenance. Well, those contractors do their job and they send in a bill. They don't think that they are living within a 2.5% increase, so we have to pay maintenance contracts. The inspectional services department, they have to inspect and issue permits, and they've been cut over the years too as well, and they just can't face any more cuts, and that comes right from the department heads. And a lot of questioning was done this year to each department, asking them what they can live without, what they wouldn't really need, and we came out with what was presented to town meeting. The finance committee did a lot of work on it, and the town administrator did a lot of work, And what we really feel that we need to keep our services is this $786,000 override.
Thank you, Sandy. And thank you, Roxanne. I'm jumping the gun here. And Sandy, you want to add something?
Just quickly on the excuse me, on the process, because it complements what Roxanne was saying and also what the individual department heads are saying. The whole process of budgeting starts back in August every year, and we put together what's called a capital plan, and then that moves forward and we put together an operating plan. Most of that work is done, if not all of that work, is done by the department heads in conjunction with the town administrator. At the end of January, the selectmen make their final recommendation and are required by our bylaw to turn that over to the finance committee. The point of all this is that this is a dynamic, fluid, often changing work in process. It's still a work in process as we sit here today. However, this year was particularly difficult because when we thought things were reasonably in balance, they became significantly out of balance. That required a proposed 3.1% cut in all the budgets across the board that could take that. You can't cut things like debt service. Subsequent to that, some good news came in, and so we were in a position of reducing that cut from 3.1, actually it flipped to 1.35, and that's where we're at today. The override that we'll now be talking about, its benefits to the town, came about from a very exhaustive collection of needs, real needs, not exorbitant needs, throughout the departments, whittled down, in my opinion anyway, whittled down to a bare bones amount, and that's what we're going to talk about now. But that's what I wanted to say about the process.
Thank you. And speaking of the process, this too is a work in process. So this time for the second question, I'm going to read the question and each one in turn will answer it. This is about what the budget with the override will support by way of services your department delivers to the town, including the capital items, if any. John?
Again, thank you. For the DPW, again, it allows us to do some things which we just haven't been able to do for the past few years. I can walk into just about any building, walk into any park, go to the cemeteries, and I can find numerous things that, again, need to be done but haven't been done because of manpower or because just of a lack of budget. Hopefully, again, with some additional money, we can address some of these issues and, hopefully, try to save some of these buildings. I think it was at the fall town meeting, people asked about the Carnegie building, which was having a mold problem. And people are saying, how can you let the building, how can you let mold in the Carnegie building? Because there wasn't any heat on. And my response is that, well, I don't have money to pay for heat in buildings that people are in. How can I justify heating a building where nobody's there? So again, additional money helps me to address some of these, just to me, ongoing issues that I have day in and day out.